Hey everybody, welcome back. There's been a lot of talk lately about landing stutters in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, and I think there's a couple ways we can deal with that. First of all is a program here called DynamicLOD Reset Edition, which is brought to us by Reset Transponder, who also does the Auto FPS program. The reason I think this is going to be helpful for us, as you can see on the screen, there are settings you can set for TLOD levels and OLOD levels based on your height above ground level. Now, generally speaking, the landing stutters seem to happen under 500 feet AGL. So I think if we can set this up to give us a really, really low TLOD in particular, as we get below, let's say, 1,000 feet, I think you're not going to see much difference in the performance of, or in the visuals of the sim rather, but you can see a very, very big improvement in the performance. There are a couple other things that I have in mind that we can do, but this is number one. Now, if you haven't used this program before, or if you haven't used it in a while, like me, when you open the app, you're going to see newer app version 0.4.7 available. When you click on that link, it'll bring you here to the download page. Here on the download page, just come here to the latest version under releases, click on that. I'll put a link in the description right here. And you just come down here and click on the exe file. It's going to ask you to save the file. So save the file somewhere on your PC and run the installer. When you run the installer, it's going to give you the option to auto configure the program to start with Microsoft Flight Simulator. I do not do that. And the reason is, if I want to fly Microsoft Flight Simulator without running this program, I don't want it to automatically start. The other thing I do is have it create a desktop link, desktop icon. That way I can drag the icon to my taskbar, and then I can open the program very easily before I start Microsoft Flight Simulator. As I said earlier, the main thing that we're looking for here is the TLOD and OLOD levels that we can set. First of all, let's go through the program very briefly. It's a lot like, in terms of the sim values, a lot like Auto FPS, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. It will auto detect which version of the sim you're using. When it connects to the simulator, the sim connect will turn green, and when you're in an active flight, session will turn green. All your values will be shown here. You can set up to 6 different profiles. I'll tell you about cruise LOD updates in a second. FPS adaptation allows changes to your LODs when you're below a target frame rate, for example, 30 FPS. So anytime you fall below 30 FPS, it is going to reduce your TLOD, OLOD by this amount down to a minimum of these amounts. And this is the time period over which it's going to do that. You can set it to decrease your cloud quality if you want to lower your cloud quality in order to get better performance. And then you can set a cloud recovery FPS. So once your FPS gets above a certain FPS level, you can then recover your clouds to what it was originally. As I said earlier, it's going to auto detect whether you're Flight Sim 24 or Flight Sim 2020. In this case, we're primarily concerned with Flight Sim 2024. Again, like Auto FPS, if you check this box, it will stay on top of your sim or anything else for that matter while the program is running. You can check this box to pause when MSFS loses focus. In other words, if you switch to, let's say, looking at your Navigraph charts, it will pause the program while you're doing that. What the LOD step max increase decrease does, it sets a value how much it increases or decreases your LODs as it's moving up and down. If you set it to 5, which is the default value, it's going to change by 5 each time it goes up or down. And this is going to smooth out the changes to your LODs as it's going. So you can basically set bigger LOD differences, and it's going to move gradually between those differences as you go up and down above the ground. Now I have it set for auto updates. You can get test versions as well if you want, and it's going to let you know if you need to update the program. Now the TLOD levels is what I'm thinking is going to help us with this issue of the landing stutters. So for me, I'm going to come here. If you double click on this, it's going to come, these numbers are going to come up here. I'm going to set it to 50 and click save, which is the S. And so now between 0 and 750 feet AGL, the highest LOD it's going to have is 50. But I think I want a little higher than 750 feet. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to raise this 750 up to 1500. But in order to do that, I'm going to have to move this up to 2000. So I'm going to set this to 2000, save it. And then here, I'm going to set this to 1500. And now what's going to happen between 0 AGL above ground level and 1500 feet, I'm going to have a maximum TLOD of 50 rather. That means under 1500 feet, my LOD is going to be at 50, my TLOD is going to be at 50, and it's not going to go higher than that. That I think is going to really, really help us with these landing stutters. OLOD, I think, has a lower impact on performance and on these landing stutters, so I'm just going to leave that where it is. Let's go fly and see how this works. All right, here we are on a 10-mile final into Kingston, Jamaica. Flying the ILS to runway 12 at Kingston Manly. Just coming through 3,000 feet. You can see the TLOD is now come down to 200. And we'll just keep an eye here and see what we get. 1,500, we should get, or below 2,000 rather, we should come down to 150 on the TLOD, and then under 1,500, it should go right down to 50. We'll see that come down nicely, and that should hopefully do our landing stutters in. The airspeed is looking good. You can see Cat 3 single approach here. Glide slope and localizer captured. This is an offset approach into Kingston. This slightly, you can see heading here is 123. If you look at the ground chart, runway heading is 120. So we got a 3-degree offset approach here, which is kind of interesting. Side note for our flight here today. And TLOD is now coming down. You can see it in the yellow on DynamicLOD. That means it's moving down. Now it's 150. Once we hit 1,500 feet, all right, gear down. Cabin is ready. Spoilers are armed. Flaps are set. We're looking good. And you can see now that TLOD is walking down again. Coming down to 50 now, and we'll see what we have here on this approach. 1,500 feet, TLOD is 50. Kingston is looking lovely today. You can see, I mean, you can see the distance there, the mountains and so on. City looks a little sparse, but again, we're focused on landing right now, and what we want is no stutter, baby. Coming up on 1,000 feet. Be interested to see how the airplane handles this offset. This 3-degree offset here. Hadn't even considered that when I picked this approach for the experiment, but I just thought it'd be a cool place to fly into, be a quick flight. And coming down to 500 feet now. Decision height is 278. You can see we're starting to straighten out here. Smooth as can be so far.
100 above.
It's in land mode.
300. Minimum.
Continuing. Oh, can we land on the runway?
200. Retard. 10.
Turned out to be an okay landing, but I was almost worried that that might be what it would do. It might get a little confused there at the end. And that is ultimately what happened. But as you can see, absolutely no stutter, no nothing on that approach. Quite nice. So hopefully Dynamic LOD is going to give you the same result if you're having issues with the landing stutter. If it does not, I got one more thing for you that might be able to help. I'll be right back and show you what that is. The other thing I would recommend looking at if you're having this landing stutter and Dynamic LOD doesn't work or you don't want to use it, go here into your online settings, come down here to rolling cache. The standard size for the rolling cache in Flight Sim 24 is 16 gigabytes. I would recommend increasing that by quite a bit. You can see I have mine set to 128. So I would definitely increase the size of it, because you have to remember that everything that we have in Flight Sim 24 is streamed, including the airplanes. So the rolling cache contains all of that stuff. So if you're flying a lot of different planes to a lot of different places, you're going to need a big rolling cache. The other thing I would recommend doing is clearing out your rolling cache. Reset your rolling cache, delete it, and start a new one, particularly if you haven't done this since Sim Update 2 is released. If you click here on the rolling cache path, it's going to open your rolling cache location. You just come up here and highlight it, copy it, open an Explorer window, paste it in, hit enter, and that's where your rolling cache file is. Just highlight that rolling cache file and delete it. Again, particularly if you haven't done so since Sim Update 2 is released. Restart your flight simulator, and then it will rebuild your rolling cache for you. So those are the two additional tips that I would give you for rolling cache if you're having the landing stutter still after trying Dynamic LOD. The other thing, you can try Auto FPS. I would not be surprised if Auto FPS was helpful. The reason why I think Dynamic LOD is good in this context is because Dynamic LOD has these settings where you can you can set for yourself, decide for yourself how your TLODs are going to be handled by altitude. And that's the issue, is generally under about, it's right at about 500 feet where people seem to have this issue with the landing stutters, 500 feet and below. I went very conservative here and set 1500 feet and below at 50 for TLOD. But that's why I like Dynamic LOD for this particular issue, because you can be very specific and very exact as to how you want your LODs handled by altitude, which seems to be the issue with the landing stutter. So I hope this has been helpful for you guys. If you have any experiences with this, if it's been helpful for you or not, please leave a comment in the comment section below. Look forward to hearing from you. Hope everybody's doing well. And as you can tell, rumors of my demise have been greatly exaggerated. Had a lot going on the first couple weeks of June here, so apologize for not being around. But we're back, and I hope everybody's doing well, and we'll talk soon.